Joining us now is Kachi Ofia to catch stories trending around the world. Hello, Kachi.
Hello, Dr. Abati. That gives me so much joy every time I hear it. Good morning. Good morning, Layla.
Good morning, Kachi. How are you?
Good morning, Rafai.
Morning, Kachi.
We're matching. I'm loving the red. Layla's nail polish. Dr. Abati, I'm sure there's a red somewhere in your jacket. There is, right? Fantastic. We're catching the flow. I love it. Good morning to you, viewers. I mean, I can't tell if you're wearing something red, but if you are, an extra good morning to you. Let's take a look at some stories trending around the globe, beginning with ASUU. Nigerian students lamenting on Twitter as the hashtag ASUU strike must end continues to trend. And of course, meetings, discussions gain more prominence in the public space as we head towards the 2023 elections. This time around, Tinubu meets with former President Goodluck Ebele Jonathan in Abuja. Now, finally, Meghan Markle is in some hot water on social media, not in the UK, but in South Africa. Now, let's begin with the president of the Academic Union of Universities, ASUU, Professor Emmanuel Osodeke. He has said that the federal government should have used the $23 million Abacha loot to meet the demands of the striking lecturers. Now, ASUU has been on strike since the 14th of February this year. The striking lecturers are seeking demands to the tune of about 1.1 trillion naira. While the federal government has, however, said it doesn't have the money to pay such amount, they're also saying, or rather asking, the Academic Staff Union of Universities to reconsider their position on the industrial strike. In fact, the Minister of State for Education, Goodluck Opia, insisted that the federal government has done the necessary things for ASUU to resume classes. Now, quite honestly, we do have some tweets on this before we comment on it. So let's take a look at some of those tweets currently trending right now on Twitter. This tweet is from an event decorator and caterer. She said, I signed out from uni in Loring on the 14th of February 2022, and I'm still here August 30th, waiting to submit my project because some old people who are done with their BSc, MSc, and probably PhD are messing with my life and time. ASUU strike must end. That's with the hashtag. Let's take a look at another tweet on this conversation. From the $23 million recovered through the Abacha loot, 6.5 billion naira was given to Katsina for cattle grazing. Dear ASUU, don't call off the strike until you're paid every dime you're demanding, because we're literally dealing with people who prefer cows to humans. Of course, there's another tweet on this conversation, more frustration. This from Moyin, who put out a whole thread, but I just thought to encapsulate all that in her final tweet, where she says, we cannot all do businesses, and not everyone can be or would be an entrepreneur. And if you think this ongoing strike is funny, you're one of the problems. And finally, on this conversation, I don't understand why ASUU keeps on trending every time when there is no tangible news or solutions to this never-ending strike. Hashtag ASUU. I always say this when I see situations like this, like we've spoken in depth about this even on the morning show this morning. When two elephants are fighting, they might be fighting over egos. They might have valid reasons for these arguments. But it's the grass that suffers. We were just speaking about the tech situations going on in the society right now. A lot of these jobs that people need to get require a long list of demands. You must have your degree in this. You must have done this. You must have done that. How are students supposed to have those or meet those demands if they cannot even complete their programs in the universities? It's really unfortunate because from the tweets we saw, some people would say, oh, no, ASUU, you're doing a good job. Stay on the strike. While others would say, no, this is not necessary. Let's just think of the long-term effect of this strike. But the truth is, while we're making all of these debates, the grasses, the students, are the ones suffering.
Yeah. I mean, shall I go?
Yeah, of course, Mr.
Okay. That's the sad reality. And that's why I'm in support of that with this Abacha loot. Why can't we put it towards ASUU at least? I'm totally in support of it. Because it is still in the same country that the Accountant General, there were allegations of over 100 billion being stolen by the Accountant General. Underline the word Accountant General. He's supposed to be keeping the accounts of the nation. And he's looking for a plea bargain now. So that means he's saying, oh, I have an hand in it. And when you see monies like that being stolen, and you see education suffering, then it's a big misnomer. And that's why when you look at the flip side of it, then you look and say, is the government really serious? Are they serious about the future and the education? Yeah, we can also make the argument that, yeah, we need to rejig the way we run university. They need to pay the proper fee. Maybe we look at endowments. They need to have autonomy and run properly and look for other ways, be creative to get financing. If properly, give scholarship to indigenous students. I talked about the GI Bill yesterday. But when government needs to be accountable, can we say that this government has truly come out to be accountable? Let's not forget, last year, ASUU was on strike. This same government reached a deal with them, paid 20 or 30 billion, and the demands were not met. So this is a strike on another strike that happened before. And you wonder what is going on here. And we've been having free money from our ancestors since 1999. In fact, I even wonder, Abacha money no they finish.
Honestly.
Because it's even an indication of how much, you see, it's a miracle Nigeria is surviving. With the extent this Abacha stole and the loots that keeps coming in trickle. It's not all the money, it's the ones we are seeing we are having.
Yeah.
And this country is still standing. And this loot is minus the one they've stole since we returned to democracy. And you have this, and the government is nonchalant about the plights of the people, and we keep dilly-dallying with the future of our children. And when they even finally get the education, no jobs. That's why there's a brain drain. A lot of them are going abroad. So what do we want for our country? To ask for a better country is not a hard thing to ask for. All the countries we run to, they built their country. Canadians built Canada, that's why we can go there. If the likes of Trudeau's father, Elliot Trudeau, didn't stay on ground to build his own country, then we will not have a Canada today. The UK people build their own country. So when are we going to have leaders that will even think of building Nigeria, building the educational sector, building everything? And it starts with listening to the plight of ASUU.
Yeah.
When you ask them, what do they use their Abacha loot now for the party, they will give you one project that you don't see the light of day. Just like the last one they came, they said they used it to be part of the money to build second Niger bridge and the likes and all of that. I'm not saying those projects are not good, but at least we want tangibles.
Precisely, Leila.
Something's got to give. That's the only way that I see the situation now. Something has got to give. Federal universities have been off in some state for the past 6 months. And now that this is indefinite, like we've been saying this morning, it's unclear as to where things go from here. And yes, it is disturbing when you see that certain demands cannot be met or cannot be met at a certain time or in a certain manner. Yet there are focuses in other areas and other sectors that may not be as important as education. So I am with you actually, Rufai, on that one. But something has got to give. We just had a guest on the show, Comrade Issa Aremu, that was saying at the end of the day, you know, this is like the 16th strike since 1999. Yeah. You can't also just keep on going on strike and going on strike and going on strike. There has to be a middle ground. There has to be room for negotiation. But this really and truly comes down more to the federal governments than anyone else. So the government really has to figure out what they're going to do about this, because it's not going to be funny if we get to December and students are not back in school.
Honestly, it's going to be terrible, catastrophic.
Okay, yes, there is a consensus, it will appear, among the people and many stakeholders, with perhaps the exception of ASUU, that ASUU strike must be brought to an end. 198 days this year alone. Students have been at home, students attending public universities. Even parents are about to intervene to say that they will contribute 10,000 naira per session. What the government is now proposing through the National Universities Commission is a meeting scheduled for September 6th to be attended by all the stakeholders in the education sector, including parents. And they say the objective is to find a consensus. Well, that consensus they are looking for, how will it be different from the negotiations that have been on the table since 2003? Right? The agreements in 2009, the agreements in 2020, in 2021, in 2022, with so many committees. Babalakin Committee, Muzali Jibri Committee, Nimi Briggs Committee, and all of that. We all know what the issues on the table are. Those issues will need to be addressed, but the primary thing is that we need Nigerian students in public universities back there. Many parents have had to withdraw their students now and send them to private universities. Because for one family, at least that I know, one of the children was sent abroad to do a master's degree. She has completed 2 master's degrees abroad. The brother, who is in Nigeria here, has not even been able to complete, 2 semesters. of a similar program. So that's how stark the reality is. Now to the second part of it, which is the request that the Abacha loot, the latest tranche coming from the United States of $23 million should be used to fund the ASUU. Well, in total now, as a result of the negotiations since 2016, this will be the second tranche coming from the US. Before now, there was a $312 million tranche. Now, this time around, it's 23.4. There are other, looted funds from other places associated with Abacha that had been returned. So this latest one, $23 million coming from the US, is called Abacha 5. And the agreement to repatriate it was signed by the Attorney General of the Federation, Malami SAN, and the US Ambassador to Nigeria, Mary Leonard, in the first week of August. Now, I understand where people are coming from. If they're saying, oh, this $23 million should be used for the funding of universities. The truth, of course, is that $23 million is not going to scratch the surface. Yeah. Because what is required from the recommendations of the NIMI BRICS Committee is over $1 trillion. So if you convert $23 million, and even if you add 10,000 naira from parents to it, there will be an issue. But the thing to worry about is that these assets, these looted assets, are not returned just like that. There are terms of agreement. And with the United States, this latest tranche, this Abacha 5, we're told that the terms of agreement will be that, look, this $23 million will be used for Abuja-Kano Road, the second Niger Bridge, the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway under the Infrastructure Fund, to be managed by the Sovereign Investment Authority, the NSIA. And these countries that return these monies, they reach that agreement so that they can monitor, so that they can, benchmark the money that has been returned, because they know Nigeria's reputation as a country where, looters loot from looters. Because if you return the money and you say because you don't want your country to be a safe haven for looted assets and actors, then of course if it gets looted again, in the same country you are repatriating the funds to, you have the same problem. So the technical thing here is about the terms of agreement. It's not that they cannot be varied, but it will require further diplomatic negotiations. But it's normal for Nigerians to say, how can they dictate how we spend our money to us? But, from a technical point of view, those are the underlying issues.
All right, well, let's take a look at another story where Bola Tinubu, the All Progressives Congress presidential candidate in the 2023 polls, has met with the former president, Goodluck Jonathan, in Abuja. Now, this meeting is in continuation of Mr. Tinubu's nationwide consultation with critical stakeholders ahead of the 2023 elections. Now, he was accompanied by his running mate, Kashim Shettima, and 5 APC governors, amongst others, on this visit. Now, according to the source who was at the meeting, he stated that the brief meeting gave the leaders the opportunity to discuss various national issues and, of course, the big elephant in the room, the forthcoming 2023 general elections. He also said that Tinubu told Jonathan of his presidential ambition and sought his support. Now, again, Nigerians have thoughts on this meeting and, of course, numerous meetings that's been happening. Let's take a look at some of those tweets right now. This tweet says, laughing out loud. If anything at all, these photos should teach you to keep emotions aside when defending and supporting these people. The Jonathan they saw was useless, weak, and inept. It's the very same one they're now seeking his support for presidency. Let's take a look at the next tweet. Jonathan, according to this tweet, is a complete washout. Why on earth will he allow Shettima into his residence? Talk more of supporting Tinubu from falling. The same crooks that wept him mercilessly in 2015 are now pleading, former First Lady, please draw your husband's ear. Now, there was something you said yesterday that I really took to heart, and I think it best explains this conversation for me, is when it comes to the game of politics, it's never anything personal. Quite honestly, it's their interest. Yeah, it's just never anything personal.
And that's why we should keep warning the people, Kachi, that kill themselves over this politician.
Yeah.
In fact, we should draw their ears like this and say, you see, because we have a nation where people kill themselves, literally kill themselves over this politician. Political togs get to kill people from the opposition. We've heard of deaths like that. We heard the case in Kogi now, that a woman's house, a party leader was burnt in her house. But look at the politicians, it's about their interest. And whatever they're going to make their deal, you're not going to be there. So you will pack yourself as Twitter warriors, abuse people, make enemies out of people, and you think you're doing yourself some good. You're fooling yourselves. While these politicians, we attend each other's weddings, we attend each other's burial, they become richer. The political class will become richer because there's always something in it for them. It is you that there is nothing in it for you. What you'll just have is money to buy your data and go on Twitter and cast aspersions and cause a war. And be angry while billions of dollars get in their accounts. So it is best for you to be thinking and be wise that don't die in their war, because for them, it's where their bread is being buttered. Where does their interest align? Now they are looking at the political alignment. Okay, we need elder statesman, Goodluck Jonathan's support. Let's go visit him. And they will go and they will visit and they'll make merry. And if they've got interests that align, deals will happen and you will not be there. You will just shout. They will go to London, they will sit down, they will sit in executive hotels. Their own children are made for life. It's your children that can't afford education. So you better hear it and don't die in their war.
That's essentially.
They will fly private jets. You will not even have money to buy a ticket from Lagos to Abuja. You enter night bus. Be wise.
That's essential.
It's true.
Because it's true. Shetima has, in fact, one conversation. I feel like, you know, we try to just dilly-dally around it, but the reality is, even when these pictures came out, that big question about the Chibok girls came to the surface again because, you know, former President Goodluck Jonathan also had thoughts on that. You know, what exactly happened to those girls under your watch? What really happened? But for some reason, that question remains unanswered, which is also why there's a huge uproar as to the question of, okay, but that question was never answered, but for some reason, you're so excited to welcome them into your home.
Dr. Abati, we shouldn't read into it, right?
It's just a thought. It's a thought process right now. It's because it is out there, and we could not just ignore the fact that it is there. But the thing is, just like we do with many other things, we'll just look at it, you know, and just look away.
Okay, let's make this clear. In politics, there are no permanent enemies. There are permanent interests.
Yeah.
Okay, and anybody who wants to lead Nigeria will look for people with whom, you know, there are similar interests. Will try to cultivate the friendship of even those that once came across as if they were your enemies. In other words, politics in Nigeria is driven by convenience. It's driven by expediency. What we ask for all the time is that the principal interest should be the interest of the people that should dominate. Now, earlier on, I said I don't see anything wrong in the presidential candidate and the running mate of the All Progressives Congress visiting, you know, or consulting with or paying a courtesy visit to a former president of Nigeria, who in any case, if they were to win, they will still be meeting. They will be, you know, sitting together at the Council of State of Nigeria. All former heads of states, including the president, the incumbent, and also former Chief Justice of the Federation, Senate presidents, and all of these former speakers, they are all members of the Council of State. So on specific matters, they will still meet. And then it's good optics, you know, for you to be seen to be consulting widely with former leaders, because the persons who have been president before, you know, they fall into a category of their own, you know, either in Nigeria or elsewhere. After all, we have seen people going to Mina to go and see the two former heads of state in Mina. We see people going on pilgrimage to Abeokuta to see former President Obasanjo. We see people also now going to the home of President Jonathan. Even if he were in Otueke, in his country home, you don't be surprised. They would take, you know, a flight or board a helicopter and go there. Okay, so that's just the way of politics. But I know it's very natural for Nigerians to say, oh, what are they cooking? What is going on there? So Nigerians are always reading meanings into every situation. But I think that, you know, as far as I can see, this was just simple courtesy visit, not anything. And as for people talking about, the abduction of the Chibok girls and the back and forth between the federal government and the Borno state government, at the time. Yeah, at that time, there was a lot of trading of blames, okay? The federal government saying exams should not have been held. The state government did not do enough. The state government, coming to the villa with some other representatives and all of that. But, at that time, it was a very painful moment in Nigeria to see the majority of Christian students, particularly, that was part of the subtext, being abducted in broad daylight. But, since then, a lot of water, has passed under the bridge. There have been more abductions, and the security problem in Nigeria has become even bigger than it was at that time. And those who promised that their primary task will be to solve that security problem, they've not been able to do it. But we're hoping that, someday, Nigeria will be peaceful and safe for all of us. Whether you live in Chibok or you live in
Kui.
Wherever.
All right, cool. Let's take a look at the final story. One of Nelson Mandela's grandsons has slammed Meghan Markle for comparing her royal wedding to Prince Harry to his grandfather being freed from prison. Now, Meghan Markle, she said during a recent interview with The Cut that someone once told her the public reactions to her marriage in South Africa, which of course, was to Prince Harry, were comparable to the joy at Nelson Mandela's freedom. Now, reacting, Mandela's grandson basically said that Meghan's wedding cannot be compared to his grandfather's freedom from prison after 27 years. In fact, a number of South Africans also took offense at Meghan's statement. The hashtag Voetsek Meghan even started trending on Twitter in South Africa. Now, this is an Afrikaans word, basically meaning go away or get lost. So again, one would say, okay, it's the UK media, it's the British media, always slamming Meghan. But in a way, I do not think this would be in any way related to them. However, it is important to note that Meghan did not say that. It was more like a fan letting her know. Maybe she could have reacted differently. Maybe she did not need to bring up this conversation in the context of the interview she was having. But there is this public perception, especially within the social media space, that oftentimes she just says things that need not be said. So not everything can be blamed.
You know how you said, right? You know how you literally just said that it's not like she said it was more like a fan bringing it up.
Yeah.
Let's not forget that the British media do look for any little thing to cling on to with Meghan.
That's true.
I'm hesitant to comment on this because I haven't seen that interview for myself, and I am interested in knowing exactly what it is that she said. Because of course you can't compare a royal wedding to Nelson Mandela being freed from prison, but that also doesn't sound like the context. I don't want to say too much. You know what I mean?
I do get that because she did say a fan told her that, in South Africa we were all rejoicing on the streets, similar to how we were rejoicing, during Mandela's, at the moment of Mandela's freedom. And in the context she put it was more like she was giving more credence to the wedding. So that's why, that began trending on social media.
Which fan told Meghan?
At the Lion King premiere, that's what she said.
Well, Meghan has been described as the Duchess of Delusion.
Yes, sir. Which fan told me?
And our latest 6,400 word, interview has been described as a masterclass in the art of manipulation.
Honestly.
So it's not just that friends of the royalty do not like her. British fans of the monarchy do not like her. She herself, seems to love attention. She draws attention to herself, and she says a lot of provocative things. Yeah. Imagine saying that the British monarchy does not like her and her husband just because they exist. And she says our children have been described with the N-word and all of those tantrums. This is not the first interview that would get objections. Our podcast with Serena Williams was the same thing. And to compare being married to a prince, in fact, Mandela said, being married to a white prince, as he puts it, cannot be compared to his grandfather, being released from a prison. And that would seem to make sense. So she has to, tone down her theatrics. Okay, this, what is that word again? Drama queen. Drama queen, Meghan Markle.
For the first time, I'm beginning to look, maybe Piers Morgan was actually right.
I want to see this interview for myself.
No, actually, you should, and you should listen to the. I think for people, it's more, even if a fan did say that, and you're going to make reference to it, clarify that this is not the case. But she didn't do that.